Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, boys and girls. My name is Brenna Victoria, and today we're going to do something a little different. I couldn't exactly find any new stories to talk about, even though I have plenty saved to my laptop, but today I just feel like we're going to do something different. Today's video, we are going to be talking about stories that you typically hear during Hungry Ghost Month. A lot of you should know what that is. If not, then just sit back and enjoy this video. Number 1, The Forbidden Room. 15 years ago, Mark Kwan, which is not his real name, by the way, went back to his hometown for a vacation. His aunt decided to drop by the family's rented home. The property in Georgetown, Pyongyang, was used as a house, a shop, and a storeroom by 4 generations of his family. Eventually, it was abandoned as it was dilapidated. Kwan, an events manager in his 40s, said, "My mother told me that there was a room which was kept locked and even had a grill to prevent people from going in. It was my late great-grandmother's room, but there was something in the room even before my great-grandmother's time. One could hear noises of things being thrown around the room. I have been to the house a few times. Once the ceiling board fell on me, but nothing could prepare him for the day when he bolted out of the room. He said he was visiting the old house, which was eventually used as a storeroom. My aunt sent me to the dark room lit only by a light bulb to retrieve some old coins from the dresser. When I opened the drawer, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I immediately looked into the dresser mirror but saw nothing. I thought what I felt was a figment of my imagination. As he continued searching for the coins, he felt another tap on his shoulder. He turned around, and from the corner of his eye, he saw a hand. He quickly emptied out the contents of the drawer into a plastic bag. As he got ready to leave the room, he felt the third tap and fled for dear life. Kwan said, "My aunt was aware of the ghost in the room, so my mom was astounded that she didn't tell me about it, but had sent me into the room anyway. I wasn't actually scared, but just had a feeling that I needed to leave quickly. Thankfully, I still had the sense to take everything before leaving. I got a treasure trove of coins and trinkets from that visit." Number 2. This story is called The Faceless Ghost. 11 years ago, accountant Matthew Chen went on a tour with his girlfriend, now wife, to Vietnam. They had booked a room in a budget hotel in Ho Chi Minh City. Nothing creepy happened when they checked in. They stayed in the night before traveling to Hanoi for a few days. On the return trip, we had the misfortune of staying in a haunted room, said Chen, 44 years old. The room looked ordinary. There were 2 beds next to the door. There was a small round coffee table with 2 chairs. Facing the main door was the toilet and the windows, where you could see the neon signs outside. Usually Chen would leave the toilet light on at night, but this time he did not, as the room was bright enough with the neon lights on outside. That night he slept on the bed further away from the main door and closer to the window, while his girlfriend occupied the other bed. I placed my spectacles on the bedside table and went to sleep. Later that night, I felt something pulling at me. I struggled hard to wake up, but I could not open my eyes or move, he recounted. I felt a ghost pressing down on me. I began to scold, curse, swear, and invoke the names of God and Buddha. Finally, I managed to wake up, he said. I felt cold and my hairs were standing on ends. My sixth sense felt a presence in the room. Chen could just make out something sitting on the chair closest to the main door. It was a woman in a light green Vietnamese traditional dress, an áo dai. She had long black hair and sat facing my direction. Without my spectacles, I was unsure if she was looking at me or out the window. The woman had no face. Chen kept staring at her while using his right hand to search for his spectacles. When I couldn't find it, I turned around to look for it. When I had put my spectacles on and turned to look at the chair, the woman had vanished. Somewhat dazed, he wondered if it was just a dream. He said, "I thought of waking my girlfriend up, but she was asleep." Chen then got up and switched on the toilet light and the television. Then my girlfriend woke up and told me she had a nightmare. Fortunately, it was their last night in the city before the tour group flew out the next morning. At the airport, he told the tour guide his room was haunted. Another traveler in the group concurred, as she stayed in the same room on the first day the group was in Vietnam, but had not dared to bring it up. I admonished her for not telling the tour guide so that none of us in the group would get that room on the return journey, he said. Well, the creepy encounter did not just end there. The following day, Chen had a fever which lasted a few days. After he recovered, his uncle brought him to see a medium. He was advised to do a cleansing ritual. He said, the medium gave me some yellow papers to burn at home. I had to walk around the smoke, then go to the nearest crossroads near my house to burn another pile of yellow papers and walk encircling the smoke. His uncle had also bought him a Tibetan dizzy bead for protection. He brings it along with him whenever he travels. Number 3. She wanted a ride. The incident that occurred 33 years ago is still vivid in his mind. It was around 5 a.m. when charcoal supplier Chu Long Ming, then 28, met a ghost. Very early in the morning, he had left his Desi Aman flat in Charas Kuala Lumpur to meet up with his parents in Pudu for Kwa Ming, aka Chinese All Souls Day prayers. Soon after he had left the car park and made a U-turn, he could see the road was clear. Then suddenly, after 50 meters, a woman appeared in front of him and gestured to him to stop. I wound down my window. The woman asked in Cantonese, "Where are you going?" She wanted to go to Tamin Kanat in Charas, but I told her I was not headed that way. He recounted. She shook her head and moved away. The woman seemed normal, but what freaked him out was that she had long hair, was dressed in a long white dress, and was carrying a baby wrapped in white cloth. She had blood oozing from her mouth. Soon after, he had the jitters and quickly wound up the window. Chu said that he had blasted music from his cassette player and drove off. I kept looking to the back seat to make sure she was not hitching a ride in my car. He was shaking and stuttering when he related the incident to his parents. They were speechless. After Queen Ming prayers at Sej Besi Kuala Lumpur, he told a neighbor in her 50s about his encounter. I told her I was going to die, he said. The neighbor confronted him, saying, "No, you're not." She told him not to be afraid and that she could help appease the ghost so that she would never attack him. He paid her about RM30 for joss sticks and incense papers. That night, my neighbor performed the prayer and asked me to stay indoors. He was relieved that the ghost never returned to haunt him and that he is still alive. Number 4, Sinister Cloud. 3 years ago, marketing consultant Karina Zanel Abidin had an unusual encounter of the ghostly kind. It took place in his apartment in Gumbak, Sangalore. He had lived there with his family for 14 years and nothing strange had ever happened until that day. That fateful night, Carino, 44, had returned home after midnight. The air in his room was hot and humid. I walked to the window and opened it, and then I sat on my bed, and I saw a strange cloud of smoke entering through the window. It had a pair of eyes like those of red saga seeds. I was paralyzed by fear at this unusual sight. His bedroom light was not switched on. As he had left the door ajar, the bedroom was partially lit by the light from the kitchen. Instinctively, Carino started reciting verses from the Quran and felt his strength returning. Instinctively, I used my hands to push the smoke cloud away. Strangely, the cloud felt like a mass and not thin air. I then took a deep breath and exhaled, using my breath to try and blow the cloud away at the same time. As soon as the cloud was out the window, Carino quickly closed it. After the harrowing experience, he went to wash his face. He sat down in the hall to relax and read the Quran for peace of mind before returning to bed. Carino said I did not wake my wife, as she was fast asleep in the bedroom. That night, he was sure he had encountered an entity for the first time in his life. Fortunately, the scary episode did not occur again. Story number 5, 30-day haunting. It was the eve of National Day 15 years ago. Traditional Indian dancer Suri Gansan in his 50s went to see a young businessman one night for sponsorship for his upcoming dance show. 2 days later, he heard about his death and attended his funeral. He heard that the businessman, who was 12 years his junior, had been attacked by a group of gangsters. He had gone to a pub on the first floor of a shoplet for drinks. He invited me, but I did not join him, he said. It seemed someone called to meet him downstairs. When he went down, he was attacked by his assailant sometimes past midnight. After returning home from the funeral, Suri Gansan felt as if an entity had followed him home. He could feel his body turning icy cold now and then, as if a presence was nearby, whether in the day or at night. He was scared out of his wits. He believed the businessman was haunting him. Sometimes I felt someone was in the front passenger seat as I drove home, said Suri Gansan. There was times when I looked at the rear view mirror and thought I saw a fleeting shadow on the back seat. Was it my imagination, or was it the ghost of the businessman? At home, he could feel the chills when he saw the dead man's face in one of his dance photographs. When he looked again, it had vanished. I also felt someone sleeping next to me or sitting by my bed, he said. The only time he did not feel a ghostly presence was when he was taking a bath or in the toilet. The black thread from the temple which I wore for protection did not keep the ghost away, he said. After 10 days of ghostly encounters, Suri Gansan confided in a friend who knew the late businessman. The friend then informed him that the family of the dead businessman decided to hold a 30-day prayer ritual for him. The Indians believe that the prayer ritual is to appease the soul of the dead, which still lingers on earth even after burial or cremation. It is only after the ritual that the soul would find peace and leave this earth. Strangely, exactly after 30 days, I did not feel afraid anymore, he related. I did not feel any presence around me. It was a big relief. Now, reading these stories, it really did bring something different. I've been trying to think of what new stories to, talk about, make videos about, but I really enjoyed this one. If you guys enjoyed it too, then please don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and if you want, you can follow me on Instagram at Brenna Victoria 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys are staying safe and cool during the upcoming hot summer months. And I'll be back next time with a new video. Have a good day.